call, please, Tammy.
John Smith.
Here.
Donna Vorpagel-Gunther.
Here.
Brett Waller.
Here.
Nubs Ashbeck.
Here.
Amber DeRizzo.
Here.
Jacqueline Gremler. Mike Hornisher.
Here.
Paul Crew.
Here.
Kevin Blake.
Here. Please stand as you're able and face the flag for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Merrill Area Public Schools Board of Education meeting. MAPS respects the role that our elected board members serve and the function of our board meetings. Board members and administrators are committed to working collaboratively to provide our students at the highest levels of achievement. This meeting is a formal event, and professional conduct is the expectation for all in attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. We open up our meeting with public comment to the board. I didn't have any sheets turned in, so we'll move right on to board recognition. Tonight, school board would like to recognize Church Mutual Insurance volunteers. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to the dedicated group of volunteers from Church Mutual Insurance for their recent outstanding service across our district. Their hard work and community spirit have made a tangible, positive impact on our learning environments, preparing our spaces for the upcoming school year. To honor this remarkable contribution, the Merrill School Board would like to formally recognize the volunteers. The Church Mutual nonprofit human service underwriting team participated in a company-wide challenge that was hashtag CMGives250, I believe, to complete 250 minutes of community service honoring our country's 250th birthday. We are incredibly fortunate to have such strong community partners investing their time and energy into the success of our students and staff. Thank you to Kendra Osnes and her team for the much appreciated help. We have people with you that help
Yeah,
volunteer.
just
By
people.
all
Oh,
means,
no, I
just me,
thought
if
she
it
was
wasn't
like,
for
yeah.
just you and just others.
Everyone else is busy. She's like, I can't let you go alone. I was like, thank you. Thank you.
Take a quick photo. And then we'll have Kendra explain the project.
I mean, I feel like you stole my thunder. Yes, yes. We're gonna hang that up in our office with a very positive, forward energy. But no, it's really just recognizing the birthday anniversary in the United States, and then we get 7.5 hours of volunteer hours anyway. So this is in addition to those hours that we have, and we wanted to do something as a group. And the school district was able to find something that could accommodate. There's 14 of us total. To come and work together and do something for the school. So thank you guys for the opportunity to do that. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great to see everyone.
She's always wanted to do that quick exit like that, so now she knows what that's like too. You got to sneak out, but sincerely thank you to our friends at Church Mutual Insurance and their volunteers for thinking of us and helping tidy up the place during the summer. So next we have administrative reports. Just a reminder, if board members had any questions prior that they could ask clarifying questions, and if they want to ask questions this evening on the record during the meeting, you can do that as well, but I'll turn it over to Shannon for administrative reports.
Thank you. Item A on administrative reports this evening is the Director of People Services Special Education Report. Amber is here this evening. Her report focuses on the annual seclusion and restraint reporting that we're obligated to do under Act 125. If there's a question, she is here. Item B is the Safe and Civil Schools updates and data story that was shared at the CTP committee meeting last night. You'll notice that there's a new link in there. There was a request by the board to put that data in a little slightly different format. And so the data is the same that was discussed at CTP. I'm interested to know if that format works moving forward. A little, maybe perhaps easier to read.
John?
Yeah, I found it to be more useful. One of the things I noted, I couldn't print it, and by printing it, it's easier to layer it down on table and take a look at it.
In fact, Kevin asked me to reprint the copy, so I forgot.
So I screenshotted it and got it printed, but if you could just look at the formatting, but I do have some questions on it too.
Good. Anything else?
I think they broke it down by building, just for anybody out in the audience, broke it down by building, majors, minors, and then we're tracking monthly, correct?
Correct.
Go ahead, John.
I guess one of the things I noted when I was looking like through middle school and high school is there's topics that are labeled with the words like aggression, endangering, harassment, bullying, refusal, THC, weapons, right? And so my thoughts went to the statutory grounds for expulsions, and then the kind of the inherent liability that if we know that there's bullying, harassment, the endangering part kind of really caught my eye, right? Because if you're endangering a school atmosphere, someone's being endangered, not typically going to care about the property as much as the student. So I guess that being said, like, can we rest assured that all these things that are associated with a number here are associated with a disciplinary report somewhere else, and that when it's resolved, the person that was endangered is no longer endangered. The person who was bullied is no longer bullied. Like, it's done.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit, and then I know we do building principals if they want to add anything. So there's certain, especially if you see some of like the higher level ones, there's, as we talked last time, there's different things that we have to report to the state, so they're coded in certain ways. We have a specific bullying protocol at MAPS, so that's been really helpful if it is categorized under bullying. Our building administrators will follow that process and protocol, work with the potential victim as well as the student, and try to put some safety measures in place. Certainly when it reaches these higher level things, whether it's threat, we have that threat assessment process that I've talked about to the board. Also, like property damage, assault, those things typically our school resource officer is involved. So yes, the higher level does go with a higher form of consequence. And then if it rises to the level of, like, I know the middle school and high school has a uniform process for like THC or drug offenses that then they would bring to Shannon and myself for a student to consider pre-expulsion, expulsion, and following those pieces. So, anything Tricia or Cassie you want to add on?
I just quickly did a search on the endangering behavior, and because Next Path was new, the teacher gets to choose what the category is. So when I just read through the few that we had, they look at it as endangering behavior, but it is not something that would involve a weapon or drugs or physical contact.
Okay. That was actually kind of like one of the things I noticed when I was looking between the sheets is when you go through Kate and Washington, there's a little bit of a consistency in how we code things. And then when we jump to the middle school, high school, we get a lot much more elaborate. But the headings kind of tie back to statutory language or to what I consider to be more serious language. You know, if I was the recipient of an endangering behavior or an aggression or a bullying, you know, we're capturing that information, so it's really important that it's resolved in full because it's been labeled as such. Because, you know, like as I was described once, that bullying has a certain descriptor, right? It's not a one and done. It's more of a stalk and intimidate. And so once we tag that as bullying, it's bullying. So we got to make sure that that's the case. And so that was my overarching concern is like, you know, if you have 7 endangering behaviors, technically a board would be like, well, it's statutory required says that we can, on an endangering on-site behavior, take action to eliminate that threat, so to speak. And so I just want to make sure that is the case.
That's a good point. Would it be fair to say, Tricia and Cassie, not to put you on the spot, like, but as administrators, when you're going into review, there are times you can change it from an endangering behavior to maybe physical aggression or, you know, like a different, like non-compliance. So that is something I think we talked a little bit about at committee level, with Next Path being new, what constitutes a major versus minor, these different areas, trying to keep it as objective as possible. We talked about the subjectivity that can come in particular with behaviors, so that's something certainly that we should continue to work on with all staff. But as an administrator, we can also kind of go in and checks and balances on that level of, is it coded correctly? And then to your point, are we following up with the appropriate consequence that rises to that level?
Yeah, and I look at it from a district liability level.
Right.
The
Yeah.
minute it's been labeled
Yeah.
as such, if there's then a subsequent behavior that was allowed to progress because the previous behavior was not addressed
Mhm.
appropriately,
I'm assuming these are preloaded categories?
Correct.
Yeah.
yes, we wanna take a look at that. What's a location violation?
Tricia, do you want to speak about the location violation at the high school?
Location violation is they're not in class or where they should be. So skipping, whether it be off school property or skipping within school.
Okay,
Could that be off campus too?
So, yeah.
so they're not in the right place at the right time.
So that's how all the attendance and truancy is documented at the high school, through that location violation.
So is there like a concerted effort, initiative, some sort of, to address that issue, being that it's like 50% or greater of all the violations? Like if we had something around that particular issue, it would significantly affect your numbers, right?
I
So-
think you'll be hearing about that next month.
So maybe to that point, a little bit more detail with, I think there was a request for like the AMC review and students in truancy. So Tricia and Matt worked specifically at the high school level of looking at our attendance and truancy protocols instead of just kids are skipping, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of it got documented in here, but then maybe students continue that pattern for a little bit longer than they should have before maybe going to the AMC for review. So the high school has laid out a very specific, more proactive, even approach of like a student gets one or two, they're meeting with the counselor, like more of those, what are the barriers, how are we addressing this, more than just they're assigned a detention, then they skip that detention, then it's added again in this. So a specific kind of protocol and format of what are the barriers, what's going on, even bringing the parents in to have those conversations, which I think my understanding when we've talked about just those higher numbers, a lot of it is, like I said, those students might have a similar pattern and it's not being addressed as quickly. They're just getting assigned that consequence, which maybe they don't always show. So next month we'll be reviewing more of that AMC, kind of the numbers from last year, and then some more of the specific to the high school, some of the changes they're making with our attendance process or responses.
Okay, so that one's,
Yep.
that one's a target.
Yep.
Skip detentions, is that a progressive punishment where if you skip a detention, you get 2, if you get skipped 2, you get a suspension? I mean, how do you make it end?
That would be the magic question. That's why,
I mean, it goes to eventually to repeated refusal and expulsion, but,
yes, so, that was a real problem last year. Some of the things that we put in place for this next year should improve some of that as far as the consequences, because we quickly learned that, the detention was
okay. So then I guess that would be like for next year, we would want to see, is it AMC?
Yeah.
That would shift that number, and then the detention number would shift down, and then the phone thing's just gonna like disappear, so that's gonna be great.
It'll be 0 next
Because
year.
we don't report suspensions on this sheet, so that's an internal thing. And then the last question was, what are the consequences for the 18th or 24th tardy?
High school suspension,
Okay.
half a day and then
You stand by 24, like,
So it's progressive.
it is progressive, yeah,
Yeah,
so.
so there's a consequence at 6 and 12 and 18 and 24.
And
All
then
right.
we started at the end of the year because there were so many, I think we,
what's 25?
What is 25?
Besides repeated refusal?
we have a plan after that. We ended up getting
that, eventually we have a pre-expulsion policy, right? And that would be something that you would imagine,
Yeah.
I mean, because at some point we've exhausted, and we're keeping track of our exhaustions, so.
And at that point, it would be a potential truancy citation, as well for,
Okay.
yeah.
And is THC still only considered expellable if that there's an intent to deliver at any location? So
Except for-
middle school,
Except
high
for
school?
second offenses, possession, second and third offenses, will get you to the expulsion level.
Okay.
We could-
And then first offense, intent to
Yeah.
distribute.
Intent,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Those are all my questions, thank you.
I've got a follow-up before you take off, just, I guess rounding this all together, as you get to the next year of reporting, we're learning things, and that's when you educate the educators and the people doing this, so the admin aren't changing things along the way, but if there is some coaching where it says, you know what, we can't do this, or we shouldn't in this situation, and that's going to affect some of the categories, make sure you make a note, so next year we don't think we solved something, but the solution was the training and reporting, not,
Right.
and categorizing, not, we eliminated that by using other means. Maybe it was an education or professional development piece, so we don't always remember that when it goes a year without seeing the report, or
Yeah.
even a quarter, so please help us and make those notes down below.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Any other?
Can we look at this more frequently, quarterly?
Yeah, so
Semester-
we're proposing quarterly.
Okay.
And the buildings will review it more frequently than that, but it'll come to the board quarterly.
We review it weekly.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Go ahead.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item C is the Director of Curriculum and Instruction Report, focusing on onboarding and new teacher orientation. There's a link there to a topic summary sheet, which has a link to our new teacher program. I just want to recognize that Amanda's worked on this. We have a really good new teacher onboarding process, courtesy of Amanda's work. I talked to two new teachers today that were new to us but not new, and they shared what a better experience our onboarding has been compared to what they had in their past experiences, so kudos to you for that. Checklists and what the mentor does and what the mentee does, and so it's very, very thorough, so I'll follow that up. If there's any questions for Amanda, I should be happy to. Item D, Director of Finance budget update and department updates, and the topic summary sheet there, a budget report topics from Mark Powell, who's here this evening. If you have any questions for Mark, he's here as well. Item E is other post-employment benefits, OPEB reports from Mark Powell. Topic summary sheet is attached. This was, I believe, shared and discussed at HR Finance, but if anybody else has any questions, Mark is here to talk about that. Item F is 2026-27 short-term borrowing topic summary sheet from Mark. This was also shared at HR Finance and discussed. But if anybody has any follow-up questions or questions, Mark is here to address those. Item G is HIPAA risk analysis and management. Topic summary sheet presented by Heather Silberg and Andrew Kaler. Excuse me. They are both here if anybody has any questions. Item H, Director of Building and Grounds Transportation Update. Attached is the topic summary sheet from Nick Wazalik. We had a meeting with Cobuson today, and they're all set to go. Nick, if anybody has any questions for Nick. Nick, do you know whose idea the animals were instead of the bus number, and in addition to the bus numbers? So because little kids aren't so great with numbers, there's animals now. So they might be on the giraffe bus, which is bus 11.
I like it.
So if you see our buses drive around town with giraffes and horses, which is a really good idea.
I appreciate the explanation though, you know?
Yeah. The drivers were like, I don't want to be on the Rhino bus.
Which bus did you drive today, sir?
It wasn't labeled yet.
Wasn't labeled?
Yeah.
All right.
Item I is the superintendent's report. There's some information there about, but the one thing I really want to address is I sent out an email about a homeschooling and athletic eligibility situation that we came across. We worked with the WIA on that, did not receive any probation, didn't forfeit any games, didn't lose any eligibility for any individual players, have some understandings moving forward. Part of that process, it's kind of, the WIA's policies and practices seem to fly or rub against state statute in some areas, and so we shared that concern with them. In the process of doing this, we created an affidavit to kind of like really verify that if a student says they're homeschooled, they are indeed homeschooled and not going to somewhere else. And so the WIA has asked us for that affidavit that they will share as a resource with other schools. So that, that's one of the things as well. New teachers, day 2 of 3, and we got a nice crew of teachers, a lot of good energy in the room, a lot of great people. And so today was a good day with them, and tomorrow we take them up to school for this for some work up there. So we're doing good. It's been a busy August, and I want to recognize Heather and the principals for getting positions filled. It's been a interesting last couple weeks, and some of the things that have kind of fallen in our lap as a result. We had just a sidebar discussion with one of our teachers looking for, and Tricia mentioned we're looking for an art teacher. She knew someone who was going to apply here but did because her friend did, and the friend took a job in Green Bay, and so we circled back, and that was an opening. That process took 24 hours to fill it.
Nice.
And a good one. She's doing great. So,
I hope so.
yeah. Well, August hires can be tricky.
Thanks for the warning.
Yeah. So if I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Oh, I have some. You had gone to that legal conference?
Yeah.
And you were gonna look into the issue of records requests from vendors?
Yeah, so we did, and so we've got some really good information back from them. So there's, some districts are sitting on like 35 of these requests currently. A couple things came in, I want to go into a policy here shortly, the next policy meeting. We are grossly undercharging for our copies. I think we are charging 0.3 cents.
0.01 something and 0.04.
So the experience has been from the law firms is that, because it's all about data centers and data that they can sell information. So the first step is to narrow the request, say this is too broad and this is going to cost a lot of money. The second thing is to put an actual dollar figure on it that's just prohibitive enough to make it go away, but still real. So that $51, $52 range is there. And then have included in that those copy expenses. Sooner or later you have to do it because that's just the law. But you can force them to narrow those requests down. And we've done that since that law.
Good.
So some go away, some don't.
Did you get a chance? I had sent a request to look into whether preliminary questions to board candidates is a permissible thing to.
That is permissible.
Okay.
Yeah. Now,
And
whether or not you want to do it is a different matter. We'll talk about that.
We can talk about, and I guess to the board, for the interest of the board, my question is that if we have openings on the board, can we ask like preliminary questions ahead of time about maybe past relationships with the Merrill area school district, past, were you a teacher, did you fulfill your contract, were you non-renewed, some sort of information in regards to the candidate itself, either before going through the whole process or so that when you come into because it's not a situation where when we pick a candidate to fill a position, we can overlook all the candidates according to the law and go with none that have applied. So it's just information that we would collect.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure it was
Yeah, so those kind of fit in the realm of like past experiences related to the board. We can't do the prohibited ones, of course, like maybe and those kind of
Right.
things. But at the end of the day, according to the statute, the board can essentially pick what based on for those. So you can ask those questions.
Okay, thank you. And then I didn't see a Director of Human Resources, but Act 89, I saw we have a policy, but is there then a training plan in place?
It's part of our formal mandatory training at the start of the year. We get, who's the leader of my therapy, Clark or Clark, Heather?
Sorry, it's me, I'm
Heather-
responding to it.
Heather's hiring someone right now.
FMLA, actually.
That Act 89 video comes from Board Member Clark, or where'd that come from?
The one we're using currently is from, I believe it's Rennie Lewis and Lacey out of Madison. DPI didn't have theirs out, and we wanted to make sure our staff had as much time to get behind that, and our coaches, because coaches started at the beginning of August.
So everybody, that's part of our mandatory training that we study, or is that just something?
Yeah, I think it was September 1, something another.
It's also on our volunteer agreement form, so.
Thank you.
Anything else for the good of the order tied to your superintendent's report, sir? All right, sounds good. We'll move on to the next section, committee reports. First one there is the Finance Human Resources Committee. The draft minutes were provided from the August 12th committee meeting. John Smith is chair, and other members of the Finance HR Committee are available for board member questions. Any questions from board members for our Finance Human Resources Committee? Hearing none. We have CTP, or Curriculum Technology Pupil Service Committee, met on August 12th as well. Attached were the draft minutes. Brett Waller is chair, and other members of the CTP committee are available for board member questions. Do any board members have questions for our CTP committee members? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to unfinished business. Currently, we have nothing labeled as such, so we'll move on to tonight's Board of Education business. Letter A is approval of the contract between Lincoln County Health Department and Pine River School for Young Learners for health screening services and school health service agreement. The topic summary sheet was provided by Ryan Martinovich with a recommended motion from administration. This is an annual event. I would look for a board member to make a motion. Paul?
I move to approve the health screening agreement and the health service agreement between Lincoln County Health Department and Pine River School for Young Learners for the 2026-2027 school year.
We have a motion by Paul. Do we have a second? We have a second by Brett. Any discussion or questions in regards to this motion or agenda item? Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is the option to move the third scheduled K-9 day from March 19th, 2027 to April 2nd, 2027. Attached is a topic summary sheet from Shannon Murray. This has been discussed at CTP and Finance Human Resources Committee with a recommended motion. Any board member willing to make a motion on this agenda item? Mike?
Motion to change the third K-8 days from Friday, March 19th, 2027 to Friday, April 2nd, 2027, include the revised 2026 to 2027 school calendar.
We have a motion by Mike. Do we have a second? Second by Nubbs. Any discussion or questions in regards to this agenda item or its corresponding motion? Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Do we have any abstentions? That motion carries. Next on our agenda is the Skyward Cumulative Migration. Attached was a topic summary sheet from Andrew Kaler. That was reviewed at both the CTP and Finance Human Resources Committee, and they recommended a motion. Any board member willing to make a motion on this agenda item? Mike?
Motion to approve the Skyward QMLA-TIV migration for a total of $26,700 to be paid from the technology budget.
We have a motion by Mike. Do we have a second? We have a second by Paul. Any discussion or questions in regards to this agenda item or corresponding motion?
I guess the only discussion I'd have for the record is it was presented that the migration itself will save $10,000 approximately a year, so that in a 3-year period, this upfront charge of $26,700 would likely be paid off due to consolidating some platforms, but just for the public record.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Any additional discussion or questions in regards to this agenda item or motion? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Do we have any abstentions? That motion carries. Next on our agenda is the fiscal year 27 preliminary budget for approval at the annual meeting and budget hearing. Attached with a topic summary sheet from Mark Paul. We do have a recommended motion. Paul?
Move to approve the fiscal year 27 preliminary budget as presented.
Motion by Paul. Do we have a second? Second by Mike. Any discussion or questions? Or any highlights you want to provide, Mark? A lot of information there, of course.
Yeah. The budget currently is about $100,000 in the hole. It's we presented at the meeting. Our initial projection in June or July, when we talked about it, was a couple $100,000, between $200,000 and $300,000. So as we continue to update things that we get from the state, and also the hiring, obviously made some assumptions on people's benefits, so that will probably be adjusted going forward. The information for the annual meeting used a 3% increase in EAV for the mill rate projection, and today we just got that the estimate is now a little over 6, so that'll help. And hopefully the aid will stay the way it has been presented, and we can see some reduction in the mill rate. So other than that, we're just moving forward. So.
Any questions or discussion points for Mark while we have him at the microphone?
Just to clarify, the EVA is the valuation of the properties in the...
Equalized valuation.
Right.
Yeah.
Any additional questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is the revised organizational chart for the 2026-2027 school year. Policy 1100 comes into play here as far as that information. Was discussed at the Finance Human Resources Committee, and they brought forth a recommended motion. We have a motion. Nubs?
Move to approve the revised 2026-2027 organizational chart.
We have a motion by Nubs. Do we have a second? Second by Donna. Do we have any questions or discussions? Or just want to highlight that real quick, Shannon? We've got a quick moment for everybody in the audience.
Sure, so when we transitioned from an HR specialist to an HR coordinator, because Heather's taken on a few more tasks in her role as she's gotten more and more comfortable in that, so that's the first change. And then the second change is with the reduction of an AP, we went to an AP/AD there, and so it's the high school.
All right, thank you. Board members, any questions or discussion on this agenda item or its corresponding motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That motion carries. Before I ask for a motion on the consent agenda, I'd ask if any board member would like anything pulled from the agenda to be handled separately. Not seeing any hands raised or hearing anyone, I would ask for a motion for the consent agenda. Someone willing to make that motion on the board? Mike?
Motion to approve consent agenda items A through D, which includes minutes of the July 15th, 2026 meeting, claims, vouchers, and receipts totaling $2,104,148.60, donations totaling $5,992.20, and the attached personnel report contingent upon release of contract for hirings and upon satisfaction of the appropriate liquidated damages for resignations if relevant.
A motion by Mike, do we have a second? Second by John. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is items for future meetings. I guess I turn this over to fellow board members if there was anything that you would like placed on a committee meeting coming up or in a regular board meeting. Talked about a few things at our board admin retreat on Monday, and some of that is to be monitored or more information. Things such as the facilities as we get third Friday counts, what that looks like in all our schools, but specifically we've been focused on a facility study at the middle school, and then also what enrollment looks like at the high school and going forward. What seems to be some initial positive information from our elementaries, but we'll see where that leads in the future. But one other point, I guess, it's not necessarily an item for future meetings specifically, but just to clarify, I guess, I've had a couple board members ask how or what the right procedure is for the board recognition, maybe some new board members, et cetera. If we have a group such as Church Mutual Cares that was helping us, we do ask for the eyes in each building, if it's administrators, principals, et cetera, to recommend those things. But certainly board members, as we see things that are helping our district at even a higher level, we can mention that as well. You know, funnel that through Shannon and myself, and we work with Tammy to coordinate the people to be here on a given regular board meeting evening. So keep those things in mind. It's just something I've been asked on the side by different board members, so go ahead, John.
If I could offer just an observation, I'm not like against our current system at all, but in my mind, board recognition would be a bit of a resolution. Like, you know, whereas this person did, be it resolved that the board, you know, recognizes that individual, we'd make a vote on it, and then they would be recognized. Because the board's recognizing the actual action. Whereas the current setup, we come to the board and they're recognized, which, I mean, I'm happy to acknowledge it, but it's just something procedurally that's always caught me a little bit out of order. Because if it is a true board recognition.
It was a title that we learned at state convention along the way, that's what it was called elsewhere, and I think I'd have to ask Tammy how long ago we adopted using board recognition as a positive reinforcement tool in the district, but I know that, yeah, it was quite a while ago.
That was just my
Sure.
perspective, that it would seem like it would originate from the board, and then in the subsequent meeting, you'd be recognized. But not to cause additional work.
Could be email.
Hmm?
Could be email. If it's not at a committee level, just some for awareness or any questions in advance.
Yeah, we can certainly go through that and see where that, would make some sense. Any additional things as far as items for future meetings, any clarification, John?
I have one. It seems like it's been quite a while. The last time I remember talking about this in a board setting, Mark Heckendorf was throwing tennis balls at us. In regards to standard, what's that?
Sounds like Alice Street.
Yeah, but that's not it anymore, right? Ish. So I was wondering if, like, the board could get the districts, I think I call it standard response protocol, and then the standard reunification method. I mean, it's been over 25 years since Columbine and subsequent shootings have existed, so we've had quite a lengthy time, and it's kind of like the standard of community care now that, you know, we were able to respond in a really organized way. And I'm sure you guys have something, but it almost seems like because of its multi-level nature, where it involves hospitals and police, fire, that the board should be like kind of held accountable to knowing what our procedures are, because we might need resources in the upcoming budget cycle because we don't have this or we should have that. I can't put my finger on having a lot of those discussions over
Sure.
the years.
And we can talk about that next week. We are required to do those drills, but with the state,
Okay.
including reunification and all of it. So those have been alive and well.
Yeah, so if we could get just some sort of summary presentation and then maybe a overall state of readiness, like if this were to happen tomorrow, what's our degree of comfort level that things would go as planned? And if that degree is not 100%, what's needed to get it closer to 100%? Make sense?
Thank you, John.
I have a second
Go
request.
ahead.
Last year around December, we discussed AP classes. And I was wondering if it would benefit the board, because we oftentimes talk about growth and achievement in a kind of a recovery sense. Then we have these AP courses, and we don't spend a lot of time highlighting the upper end, for lack of better words. But since December, there should be another round of test scores. So I was wondering if we could get some sort of report that would indicate maybe a 3 to 5 year trend of what we have offered, kind of the test scores that we saw, over that period of time. And then I find it confusing because test scores vary based on the subject matter and the university that's accepting them. I think it would benefit the board to be educated that if we have scores of 3, what that means, if it's a score of 5, what that means. I'm not 100% sure I know, but I was wondering if that could be presented as a topic to the board.
And because of the way AP has changed with the increases in dual credit, Tricia, I think we should include that in there too. For example, we could take dual credit psych in high school now and leave there with a college credit versus taking AP psych and having to pass the test. So those numbers have dropped significantly on the AP side, and that would look it on that chart, but there's more to the story, since there's options now. So we could do that, include it as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, from my understanding, there's some courses that are eligible for dual credit, but physics is a hard one because you'd have to align with a university that offers it. So AP Physics may not have a dual credit course. AP is the standalone one at that point. So
Sure.
how many kids are signed up for it? How many kids are passing? Something that just gives us a snapshot of what it looks like on the top end of our academic scale.
Is there a standard throughout the state on these advanced placement classes? I mean, are we in the middle? Are we near the top, are we near the bottom in placement? How are our students progressing?
A couple things. One, I think as far as like participation, our participation in AP, and Tricia,
I'm trying to pull it up right now.
so our participation in AP has declined as dual credit is enrolled because we have NTC course. And we have really good relationship with NTC, and so we have many dual credit. That program has really exploded. So at the expense of AP. Our scores, I would say, because we have the national averages, the state averages, and ours, some subjects we exceed and some subjects we rate.
Neither, but do they cost us? I know FTC pays the lion's share of the freight for the classes. Is there a cost to the Merrill School District for these kids taking classes too?
Dual credit, we're talking about the dual
Dual
credit.
credit.
No, and then on the AP, yes. I think it's $90.
So it's in our best interest to have the dual credit rather than AP.
Yeah, assuming they have dual credit, like the John's point.
That's what I was kind of, we got both the education on it too, because sometimes if you wanted to get a dual credit chemistry course, that means you want a college credit at the end of it. and nobody's giving that out. But if you want to take an advanced placement in chemistry so that you don't sit for the first semester or the first year, and you go into your university ahead, that's what the AP is supposed to do for them. So it's like if we have an AP course, and we have 100 students in it, how many got advanced placed after a whole year's worth of effort? Right. That's kind of
They
the,
still have that, Tricia, they still have that conversion chart by university? Like if you get a 5 at
Yes.
Madison, it gets you this class, whereas a 3 at Point might get you a thing. So.
I have to look for it.
yeah.
Any other topics or items for future meetings from board members? I know we're also excited to hear about the health insurance. We can get quarterly updates on that, so we'll hear from Heather and Mark and Hazley as that progresses. We'll stay tuned for more information there. I didn't see any other hands up, but I guess I'll ask one more time, any other board members' items for future meetings? All right, we'll move on. Just a reminder that Thursday morning, tomorrow morning is no exception, at 8:15 approximately, on Blue Jay 730 radio, we'll have time to discuss the school district and tonight's board meeting. Shannon and I will be on that. Just a reminder of other future meetings. The Facilities Committee meets on Wednesday, September 9th, 4 p.m. in the boardroom. CTP, Curriculum Technology Pupil Services Committee meeting is on Wednesday, September 9th as well, starting no sooner than 4:30 p.m. in the boardroom. Finance Human Resources Committee meets that same evening, Wednesday, September 9th, no sooner than 5 p.m., start here in the boardroom. The regular board meeting for September will be Wednesday, September 16th, 5:30 p.m. in the boardroom. And the annual district meeting and budget hearing is slated for Monday, September 21st at 5:30 p.m. in the Merrill High School auditorium. This time I'd ask board members willing to motion to adjourn. So moved. Motion by Mike, second by Nubbs. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
The UW system is